Welcome to the Asbestos Knowledge Empire.
What does asbestos management mean to you?
I used to really struggle with the asbestos management at my site, but now it's a breeze.
It used to be really expensive. I was paying loads, but now I've got my asbestos power team in place. It's so much easier.
Asbestos can be a pain in the arse if not handled right.
We had to stop the job because asbestos was discovered. Now we don't have that problem.
Asbestos management is easier than you think. Asbestos management. Be proactive, not reactive. Think about asbestos first, not last.
And now your hosts, best-selling authors and asbestos experts, Ian Stone and Neil Munro.
Welcome to the Asbestos Knowledge Empire. Today we're going to look at what's the history of asbestos.
Yeah, so today we're going to look into the past and kind of identify why and where asbestos was used. So long and short of it, asbestos has been used for thousands of years. Been found by archaeologists dating back to the Neolithic or Stone Age era, which is about 10,000 years ago. So our ancestors knew the properties around asbestos, and they mixed it with things such as clay to make pots and fire them, use them, make them harder, make them more usable, more versatile. It's been found in pots in Sweden, Finland, Russia. So it wasn't kind of like one little area, one little group were using it. It was all over.
It was all over the world, wasn't it?
What does asbestos mean? That's a good one. In Greek, it means inextinguishable, and it was mentioned in ancient writings as well.
Yeah, I think if you actually look at the translation, it actually translates as unquenchable, but basically what they were trying to say was it inextinguishable.
So again, back in those sorts of times, the Greeks, the Romans, the powerful empires, they talked about asbestos and its resistance to fire and acids. But they also spoke about the harmful effects on humans. So they were mining it and using it. Obviously not in the same manner as us in the industrial times, but they were still using it enough to notice that it had effects on humans.
Yeah, there's lots of stories written in their sort of old writings about the emperors and the powerful people in those empires using asbestos as tablecloths and wicks for candles, etc. And the note in them has the way that they used to clean those items was exposing them to fire. So yeah, asbestos has been around for a long, long time.
So, yeah, like Neil said, it's been used for tablecloths, napkins, even manuscripts have been written on asbestos. The ancient Egyptians, they used asbestos for burial shrouds, and like Neil said, candle wicks. Famous explorers such as Marco Polo referenced it, and materials to be made from asbestos cloth as well. So what does that mean? I mean, in the UK, we started using asbestos in around the 1700s, in kind of modern day era, if you like. And then we continually increased its use until the Industrial Revolution in the late 1800s. And that was really when it came into its own, because mining was better, we could get hold of it better, and then we could manufacture stuff better. And if you think of it along the same lines of like the cotton industry in this country, and when that really took off, because we essentially used a lot of the same products, especially for Christile white asbestos, to weave it and to make yarns, ropes, cloths, those kind of things out of it. The first commercial mine opened in Canada in 1879. So again, late 1800s, that when we really started to look and use this product on a day-to-day.
And that mine didn't actually cease its operations until as recent as 2012. Okay, so that only shut down then. There has been talk about it reopening. There's basically that town in Canada centred around that asbestos mine itself, so you never know, that could be opening again.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, especially with Trump in power at the moment as we speak, and the things that he's spoken about, relaxing laws definitely in America, it might have the knock-on effect in Canada and stuff as well. So yeah, as a commercial point, that was the first major turning point for its use, and this made it better for businesses to use it because all of a sudden it became cheap. And they were using it because it was cheap. And that was the kind of the school of thought of asbestos. If a product could be made cheaper or better by adding asbestos, and all of a sudden it was. And that's why we've seen it added to so many products over the years.
Yeah, but it wasn't until sort of the 1930s when the mining techniques really did advance, and the actual machinery of getting this raw mineral out of the ground had come on so good that they could really process that product out of the ground quickly and efficiently, which again added to the actual asbestos product becoming more and cheaper.
So yeah, after that we kind of got the mining down, we then got the using it down, and then it really came into its own between So in 1940 and 1970, that was when it was heavily used in construction, rail, shipbuilding industries. That was really like the peak era, the peak time for asbestos. So if you think post-war, the baby boomer era, we needed a lot of buildings. So that's why a lot of schools contain asbestos. A lot of social housing contains asbestos, because this real big boom post-war happened and we needed to build these buildings very, very quickly.
Yeah, definitely. Asbestos did fuel that massive construction project across the country.
So in that time, we imported probably 5-6 million tonnes of it. We were the largest importers of amosite asbestos in the world. And we also had the largest asbestos manufacturing plant in the world in the UK.
That's a shocking fact. You know, we were the biggest producers of asbestos at one point.
When you think of it, I mean, yeah, the UK, superpower, all that. We were the empire. But when you think of it on the scale, we're a tiny little island and we're using the most of it in the world.
You know, it doesn't come from our country.
Yeah.
So we're actually bringing it in from other countries to produce it and then sell it to the rest of the world.
So there's probably, product-wise, over 5,000 products. There's obviously no definitive list. But like I said earlier, if the product could be made cheaper or better by adding asbestos, it was. And that's why the list goes on and on and on about what asbestos has been used in. Floor tiles, bitumen adhesives, boarding, roofing, woven items. The list is pretty much endless, yeah.
So as of this point in time, these rough figures, so there's approximately 195 countries in the world, and of these, there's approximately 55 countries which have an outright ban on asbestos, the import and supply. And that's a shocking figure, really. You know, asbestos is still being heavily used in some parts of the world, predominantly sort of Asia.
Developing markets.
Yeah, developing countries which are, again, doing what the UK did in kind of the 1950s, 1960s, you know, the massive boom construction areas. Asbestos, again, it fueled our rise from the Second World War. It's doing a similar thing to these other countries where their economies are booming, they need housing, they need construction, they need buildings, and asbestos is being used to fuel all those works.
And we banned it finally in this country in November 1999. So we're not talking about yesterday. It's a few years now since asbestos was banned, and the science is out there that knows that asbestos isn't good for you. It is dangerous. It does lead to diseases, but all these other countries are using it, which is a bit crackers. But yeah, that's it really. We just wanted to run through what the history was with asbestos. So thanks for listening to the Asbestos Knowledge Empire.
And remember, asbestos first, not last.